Hi, everybody. Welcome in as you're trickling in. Yeah, I'll give you guys a few more seconds to get everybody in, and then we will kick off and get started. Today, we are doing the 5 W's of teaching entrepreneurship. So that's the who, what, where, when, and why. And this is kind of a collaboration between Intuit for Education and Banzai. My name is Mallory. I am the curriculum lead here at Banzai, so I help make the content, decide what we're going to talk about, things like that. And then we've also got Jared here from Intuit.
Thanks, Mallory. Hi, everyone. Great to, I guess kind of virtually, I can't really see you, but I can see your names in the chat. So thanks for joining us. I
Good to
lead
see
the
you.
product side over here for Intuit for Education. So in any way, we build our tools and curriculum and all that good stuff for personal finance to teach university and high school students.
Awesome. So yeah, like I said, today we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship, specifically those 5 W's. I am going to go out of order of the what, where, when, why, and how we usually say it. So I hope that that isn't too annoying, but we're going to start with the why because I feel like that will give context to the rest of our conversations and why it's helpful to teach about entrepreneurship. So first, you can kickstart an entrepreneur. Your lesson about entrepreneurship can be the thing that like makes someone decide to be an entrepreneur and do this for the rest of their lives. So yeah, you can start them on the path of building your own business. It also includes really practical financial skills. If they decide to become an entrepreneur while they're still a student, they could get extra money, additions to their resume, all these really awesome things that can be really helpful from just one lesson. And like I said, it's possible that this could be the thing that causes them to do this for the rest of their life. And that's kind of really cool and really exciting.
Yeah, one thing we actually hear a lot, Mallory, as we go into the classroom a lot, we talk to students and we kind of do surveys. And this was actually kind of similar when I was a kid. The side hustle or side gig
Yeah.
growing up, whether it's the babysitting or maybe it's the dog walking, I was more of the like, let me take my neighbor's trash out because they didn't want to do that. And I
Yeah.
used to get, I don't know what it was. I think it was like $2 a can, but you know what? It went a long way for me when I was a kid.
Yep. I remember specifically like tracking, like, okay, if I do this many babysitting jobs and this whatever, then I can buy this concert ticket or whatever. So yeah, it's good skills to start with. But even if your student never actually becomes an entrepreneur and like this is just a lesson that they have and they don't, go down that path, it'll still cultivate really, really helpful skills for them to use throughout their life. So that includes things like problem solving, creativity and innovation, collaboration, leadership, confidence, responsibility, time and financial management, communication. All of these, some of them hard skills, some of them soft skills that are like really, really helpful for a student throughout their entire life. Okay, next, let's jump to when and where you should teach entrepreneurship. I've kind of linked these two together because they make sense to go together. A lot of the time, it feels really obvious to be like, oh yeah, high school students, maybe middle school students. They're the ones that are most likely to be starting their own small business or diving into entrepreneurship. But we would like to encourage you to kind of not limit yourself to that. It's never too early to start teaching about entrepreneurship. In fact, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with Jumpstart. Jumpstart is a national organization that curates financial literacy content and helps create standards for across the nation to learn about financial literacy. And they include entrepreneurship in their elementary standards as well. I won't go into detail about all of these, but these are kind of the specifics that really touch on it. I kind of narrowed those down into these concepts. So that would be an entrepreneur is someone who runs a business. That's one way for people to earn income. Running a business means you have to make all the decisions. That can be really exciting, but that can also be hard. And then in order to make money, a business must sell more than it spends. So some of these really introductory, really kind of foundational concepts, but exciting things that you can get elementary school kids thinking about. Then, of course, we can move on to middle school. Again, these are the standards that Jumpstart has collected for middle school. I kind of collated them into a little bit easier language. There are many different ways to be an entrepreneur. Like Jared said, it can end up being your full-time job. You can be a business owner, or you can do it as a side hustle. You can have multiple businesses. You can have one. There's not kind of one definition that makes that happen. And then kind of expanding on that second point in elementary, running a business comes with unique risks, unique opportunities, consequences, and it's important to weigh whether those are actually going to make sense. And then once students are reaching middle school, it's a time where they are much more likely to start their own business. And so you can start brainstorming some of those ideas and getting those out there. And then finally, high school. Again, talking a lot about earning income, really getting into kind of the nitty-gritty of what being an entrepreneur would actually look like. So some of those concepts are looking into the practical skills, jumping over to Jared, Intuit QuickBooks. That is like the thing that entrepreneurs use. And so we want to help make sure that students know how to use that and that they can do some of these hard practical skills. And then understanding different things about like business expenses, excuse me, equipment costs, marketing expenses, all of these things that are like, oh yeah, I didn't really consider that. No one's going to pay me for my business if they don't know that my business exists, and kind of taking this idea and making a practical plan for how you're going to make it happen. So now let's talk about who. Obviously, we've kind of already talked about who should learn about entrepreneurship. I feel strongly that it should be everyone because there are those practical skills that can make sense. So instead, we're going to talk about who should teach entrepreneurship. There are a bunch of classes where entrepreneurship ties in really obviously, some of those being personal finance and economics, obviously, CTE classes, mathematics, social studies, English and communications. Again, because of those skills that they're getting out of it, those hard and soft skills, it really makes sense in a lot of different classes that maybe you wouldn't consider off of first glance. And so we hope with this webinar today to introduce you to some content that will make teaching entrepreneurship really, really easy. On the Banzai side and on the Intuit side, we've got a bunch of things that are meant to, even if you don't feel necessarily like you're an entrepreneur yourself or you don't know how to work Intuit QuickBooks or anything like that, you can feel confident that you can do it. So these are some things that we have on the Banzai side. We've got automatically graded pre and post tests, professionally designed games, articles, worksheets, activities, things that are already made for you so you don't have to go hunting for it, built-in live chat and teacher support, and then our workbooks that kind of cultivate those financial skills that are going to be really important for an entrepreneur. I also wanted to point out that you don't have to do the lesson planning. We've done all that for you. So on the side here, I have our sample schedule that includes both a deep dive and a quick version of going through entrepreneurship. So if you're like, oh man, I don't know if I want to take that long, I just want to kind of get some of these core skills out for my students, you can whip it out in 3 days, or you can take a much longer time, spread it out, things like that. Another thing that I wanted to point you guys to, you're here at a PD webinar, Banzai. We have done another one a couple of weeks ago that we called Fail Fast, Cultivating Entrepreneurship in the Classroom. It was a really awesome webinar. We brought in 3 current and former teachers that are currently teaching about entrepreneurship, and they talked about how and why they do it. They had some really awesome insights. So I really encourage you if you're kind of like, okay, I like this teaching entrepreneurship, but I'm not entirely sure how to do it or what I'm going to do. These 3 teachers had some really awesome insights. So you can scan that and that will pull that up immediately and you can watch that later. You can also go to our library of PD webinars at any time. That's banzai.org/teacher-professional-development. So yeah, that's where all of those live. And I highly encourage that. That was a really, really great one. So next, we've kind of gotten to the crux of our presentation today, which is the what. What are we actually going to be teaching them if we're teaching about entrepreneurship? And so this is where I'm going to toss over to Jared to talk a little bit about Intuit's content related to entrepreneurship.
Awesome. Thanks, Mallory. So I'm not gonna call on everybody, but I'm gonna make sure you're here and listening. I know depending on where you are, it's 1 o'clock for me Pacific, maybe it's 4 if you're on the East Coast and it's Friday. Obviously you can't raise your hands, but I'm curious, in the chat, I'm gonna make you use the chat. Who has heard of Intuit before? I don't usually get 100%, so I'm just curious. I see Utah. All right, Brandon. Well, thank you, Brandon. Oh, I signed up for the Finance Challenge Suite. Okay, so I mean, I'm getting I've heard of Intuit before. Usually I'll get like a 75% give or take. Then I will ask you about TurboTax, and then it's like almost a guaranteed. Everyone kind of then raises their hands because what in life can you not avoid? It's death and taxes. So I am, again, Jared from Intuit. I'm in our San Diego office. I lead the product team. So in any way we build kind of our personal finance tools. And one way that we think about entrepreneurship and kind of what ties into the entrepreneurial finance piece is what you were kind of really thinking about and mentioning, Mallory, is how actually personal finances kind of lend to and teach into sort of the entrepreneurial. Now this doesn't necessarily take like matter as much maybe for middle school, depending on who your students are. But we do have a focus and a belief that your personal finances matter when you also think about entrepreneurship, especially as students get a little bit older and older, and then maybe if they want to open up their own business, your personal credit score actually may matter. So before I'll jump in and we'll kind of actually go through the personal finance that kind of actually lends itself a lot to what you guys teach on the entrepreneurial side is kind of what and how we actually really built our tools. So if you want to, you're more than welcome to, Mallory, kind of go to the next slide. So Intuit and Intuit for Education, we've kind of been in this space now for about 7 years, give or take. We love design thinking. I'm not sure if anyone is familiar with what design thinking is, but really it's how do you fall in love with the problem rather than the solution? And so what that really meant for us and specifically this education team is there are tons and tons of resources out there from entrepreneurship to personal finance, you name it. We didn't want to just be another one of those resources, but we wanted to really think about how can we use our expertise in this space. And so I got to spend about 6 months in the classroom a long time ago to really think about how can we make and bring our sort of expertise from the Intuit side really help these students in the near future. And so I got to see it's three specific examples that were kind of like these mind-blowing moments for me. Um, the first one was I watched an award-winning teacher. She actually was brought to me from Jumpstart. We just talked to them about them. And she won an award from them for teaching personal finance. And I was observing her teaching taxes to her students by a pen and paper. I don't know anybody today, and I'd be curious to hear from you all. If anybody does their taxes by pen and paper, I would be shocked if you do. So that was kind of number one. Number two is they were using a 1040 easy form, which today you can't use a 1040 easy form or even then to do your taxes. That was kind of like number two. And then maybe the third, I'd be curious if any of you all would do this. I have a very strong assumption. The answer is no. Is another teacher, she filed her taxes in front of her students to show them the process of doing the taxes, like how they actually go through taxes. And that was like the biggest, like, whoa, aha moment to me because, like, I'm not doing my taxes. Mallory, I don't know about you, but I'm not doing my taxes in front of anybody, let alone
That's
like maybe
crazy.
an accountant or like maybe my wife. Like exactly, Brandon. Like probably a nightmare. I can't imagine doing it. So that was that moment, like sign kind of like that click for us where we need to bring real world tools that are designed by teachers, sort of for teachers, into the classroom. And so for what Intuit for Education, really what we have is we have over 150 hours of content and curriculum that ranges from videos to simulations to games to worksheets and lesson plans that are mapped to state standards. So if you all are aware or maybe not, personal finance is starting to become a sweeping mandate across the country where students are from high school perspective are going to need to actually take either it's a standalone course or an embedded course or an elective to actually graduate high school. So we've created sort of, if you're comfortable teaching personal finances, they allow you to be able to pick and play and kind of choose what you want out of what we have that maps to your state standards. Or if you need something that is very a robust lesson plan that maybe you're not as confident to teach personal finance in general, maybe it's an unfunded mandate in your district, you can read through and go through everything that we have for you. I think the big key takeaway that kind of gets always asked of us is like, is this free? You can see, yes, it is free. It is free for teachers, free for districts, you name it, all across the board, everything we have. So Mallory, you can go ahead, go on to the next slide for me, please. So the two things that we really have that kind of talk the most about is personal finance. And again, this ranges from budgeting to credit to savings to you kind of name it, everything kind of across the board. When new topics come up, right? Inflation is kind of hot on everyone's minds at the moment. It's kind of what's spinning the markets and our economy. So you name it, everything that we can do to help students, get them ready and pass through high school graduation, but then how do we actually move them into adulthood if they are going on to college? How can they actually start to manage their funds in college? And then the last piece that we're actually going to be diving a lot more into this coming year is the entrepreneurial finance piece. So how if they are in, middle school, what is a problem? How can they figure out the problem and not just building a solution, kind of like what we talked a little bit about earlier, but similar, whether it's games, simulations, you kind of name it. All right, next, Mallory. So why Intuit for education? What makes kind of what we have different? Again, there you name it, you can probably Google personal finance, curriculum, simulations, games, you name it. Again, it's going to be all out there. But our biggest differentiator is our tools that are used by over 140 million different consumers. And what we've really done is built educational tools for students. And so um, I'll use it's April 11th. I'll use tax time. So we basically have these tax simulations for students to go through and see what it's like to learn and file taxes. So we have, I believe, right now, Sasha is kind of our main individual that we've built for students, and they go through and see what it's like with your traditional W-2, what it's like to actually file taxes. Um, so a couple ways you can do this. You can use it as a standalone. Again, if you're not comfortable teaching personal finance, we're seeing now that there's more professional development around it. So teachers are becoming more confident. So whether you are or not, it can be plug and play. You can take bits and pieces. If you're like, oh, I use a tax course from another provider, but I want to see what the simulation is, you can use a simulation without actually teaching the entire course. So why is it free? We sit within corporate responsibility, my entire team. And so what that means is we are on a mission to power prosperity around the globe, not just us, but actually that's Intuit's mission as a whole. And really, we want to be able to teach 50 million students by 2030 all about personal finance. And so that's kind of why we do this and why we sit within our corporate responsibility team. And then last but not least, kind of why us, why versus others. We've been doing this. We are a leader in doing this for the last, 40 plus years. We like to call ourselves a 40-year startup. But, I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but when I think about TurboTax or QuickBooks or some of those, it's some of the main tools that kind of power prosperity from small businesses to individual consumers. You kind of name it across the board. If anyone has any questions, by the way, you are more than welcome to ask them in the chat. I will try to answer them. I will give you one caveat because this just was asked to me in a different webinar. I'm not a tax expert, so don't ask me to help you with your taxes or don't ask me any tax specific questions. I will refer you to somebody else, but I will try to answer them if anybody has any. So what is one easy way that you can get started today if you don't teach personal finance or if you teach entrepreneurship? I saw Maurice, I think was it you, Maurice? No, it was Jennifer. Jennifer, you signed up for the finance challenge. That's probably this. So if you are not aware, it's Financial Literacy Month. That's April in the United States. It is Financial Literacy Month, or some might call it Financial Capability Month. What we've come up with is what we call Hour of Finance. How can you teach why the importance of personal finance and finance to students within 1 hour? So I'm going to stop for 1 second, Mallory. I'm going to let you go to the next slide, which has a quick video that kind of highlights and shows a little bit about what it's about.
It's Financial Literacy Month, and we're kicking it off with the Intuit Hour of Finance Challenge, an opportunity to kickstart your students' financial journey. Here's how it works. Dive into Intuit for Education's curriculum, featuring a plug-and-play lesson plan where your students can spend up to 1 hour learning about credit. Put those lessons to the test in Intuit Prosperity Quest, a free, interactive game that brings finance to life with real-world scenarios. Track your progress on the leaderboard as you compete against schools nationwide. And the best part? Your school could win a celebration worth up to $25, $50, or $100,000, depending on the school size, and a special guest appearance. It's the ultimate reward for taking a step closer toward financial well-being. So join the Intuit Hour of Finance Challenge today. Learn more at intuit.com/hour of finance.
Perfect. Thanks, Mallory. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. You can go one more.
Oh,
hey there, it's financial.
No, there we go.
I knew it was going to play the video again. So registration is happening all through, it started kind of in early March, but it goes actually all through April. So if you haven't, we'll show a kind of QR code here at the end, but you are more than welcome to still register and then still have your students participate all the way through the month. But again, it's meant to be done in 1 hour. It's very plug and play. So we have 3 to 5 minutes of introductions. We have a curriculum that actually will help kind of onboard your students into what they will, again, learn about. Now, remember, it's more about helping students become aware of the importance of personal finance. Now, you will see and you will notice learning objectives and kind of actual student outcomes throughout the game. with pre and post test quizzes and the whole 9 yards. But you can't teach an entire lesson on personal finance in 1 hour. And so really what hopefully this does is sort of kickstart their intrigue and their wanting to learn more about personal finance. So after they go through the curriculum, they will then actually go ahead and play Prosperity Quest, the game there. So they've got about 30 minutes to kind of play and go through the game. At the end, there's sort of a challenge wrap up, and then it's followed by a survey. And then within there, you as the educator can watch and see the scoreboard. And if you notice that towards the beginning of the class, or the end of the class, that your students ranked very high in the scoreboard, you're more than welcome to kind of come back and check the leaderboard to kind of see where you rank, to see if you are going to get any of those prizes towards the end.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw out while we're talking about this here. Intuit came to us talking about this a couple of months ago, and we were like, this is so exciting. This is so cool. So I just think this is a really awesome way to, like you said, introduce students to a topic and get them in there. And we contributed a couple of Banzai worksheets and stuff like that are included in this. So yeah, we're really excited for it. I think it's a really awesome program and everything like that. So
thanks, Mallory. So if you all are interested, if you have not signed up yet, there's a QR code there for you, or you can use that link there. Everything is there on the website for you. Registration is very smooth. It's very easy. You'll get join codes for you and your students, and then you can go ahead and get started. On the page, if you are having any trouble at all, we do have an email that you are more than welcome to reach out to us, and we can help you kind of get started on that journey.
awesome. Thank you, Jared.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me jump into a few other things, few other options. So we're in kind of the what section of what to teach about it. Intuit, I'm going to come back to them a little bit in a minute, but I wanted to jump down to elementary, since we talked about how it's really important to start teaching these skills early, and it makes sense to teach these skills early. And so what I think is a really awesome resource for this is our Lemonade Tycoon game. So this is ideal for about as low as 3rd grade, and we recommend it up to about 7th grade. It's got about a 2 to 4 hour playtime. And essentially the idea in this game is that students become entrepreneurs. So this is our flagship financial literacy elementary game. But it's really at its core all about entrepreneurship and how financial literacy intersects with that. So students open their own lemonade stand and they learn about spending money for their business and what that's going to mean. They borrow money for their business in the form of IOUs, and then they have to pay it back and learn what happens when you don't pay it back on time. And then they also have to designate their money in between saving, which is saving up for a goal, putting more money back into their lemonade stand so that they can continue to grow their business, again, paying back those IOUs, and then just general spending for things outside of their business. Like at one point they get the opportunity to go to a water park and they have to decide if they're going to shut their business down for the day and stuff like that. Once again, this is kind of a flagship financial literacy meets entrepreneurship program game. So we also have these fun activities where they get to count coins and figure out how to make change and everything like that. And then, yeah, they have to buy the things for their business. They have to buy the things for their personal life going on, and they have to try to reach that end savings goal at the end. So that's our elementary content. But our kind of most full and exciting content is this brand new entrepreneurship course, which we just launched a few weeks ago. And this is in partnership with Intuit for Education, which is kind of why we're here today. We first met somebody from Intuit at Jumpstart NEC a few years ago, which is the Jumpstart National Educator Conference. I highly, highly recommend it. If anyone has the chance to attend that, we usually give away a few scholarships here at Banzai to attend it. It's a free conference where you get together with people from all across the nation who are also financial literacy teachers, and they really spoil the teachers. They really make it exciting, and you get to learn about a bunch of new stuff. Anyways, it's kind of a side story, but that's how we first met somebody from Intuit for Education. And we've been talking for a while about what would make the most sense for us to kind of partner together. And we kind of stumbled upon this idea for an entrepreneurship collaboration. A big reason for that is kind of those QuickBooks simulations, like I mentioned before. Intuit has these simulations that allows you to jump in there and actually work through QuickBooks and like see how things work and use it practically. And And that's such a core skill for an entrepreneur. And all of that is available within this. So we have some Banzai content in there. We have some direct link to Intuit education content in there. It's really cool and really exciting. So I'm going to go just a little bit more into what's included in that entrepreneurship course. So we have the How Much Can My Business Make? This is a little questionnaire coach situation. That's not really a game, but it's a really quick go through where students come up with an idea for a business, and then they find out, okay, what would the practical budgeting and finance requirements for that actually look like? So they learn a little bit about businesses. They, answer some questions here like, okay, is it a shop or is it a service? What is that going to mean? And then they go through and they figure out the finances for that plan. So it talks to them about, what's the main service you're going to sell? What's the main item you're going to sell? What are you going to charge? Things like that. And then it will calculate and it'll be like, okay, if that's what you end up doing, and if this is what you end up requiring to spend, this is how much you could make. And then of course, taxes, like you said, always come into it. So we do talk a little bit about, okay, self-employment taxes, what would that take back out of it? Is this going to actually be a good choice for you financially? Are you going to lose money on this? If so, what do you need to adjust in order to make it make sense? And that's really fun because it takes, okay, I have this idea for a business, but I don't know if I'm actually going to do it. And it forces them to think about it in a very practical, real way and really think about it and make it real, which is fun. So again, this is kind of going over the taxes section, talks about how much they're going to be required to pay. It talks about the fact that taxes exist, which some students may not know, self-employment and income taxes and things like that. The next one that we included is our banking game, which is a game that has been out for a little while, but we included it for two reasons. Number one, understanding how banking works is really important if you're going to run your own business. And number two, in this game, students are, again, running their own business. They open their own bank. So this is recommended for 7th through 12th graders, and it has, again, about a 20 to 40-minute playtime. And essentially what happens is the student is in a class, a representative from a local bank or credit union comes and is like, hey, I'm going to tell you all about local banks and credit unions. And they're like, that sounds interesting. I think I'm going to try to open a business. And so they have all these different goals. They're trying to keep their business reputation high enough. They have a certain amount of time that they have to run it. And they also have to keep it profitable, of course. So over here, we've got kind of an example of their balance sheet, the people that they have as customers, the cash that they got on hand, the deposits, the loans that they've sent out, everything like that. And their goal is to kind of balance these things, making sure that their business is profitable and also that they have a good reputation, which you raise your expectation, or excuse me, you raise your reputation by giving out more interest or giving out loans to anybody who asks. And everyone's like, wow, what a cool business. But obviously, sometimes if you put the interest too high, that's going to make it impossible for you to be profitable. And if you're giving loans out to anybody who asks, sometimes those aren't the best choice for people to loan money to. So I just wanted to kind of briefly touch on that one. We did one of our game on sessions a little while ago when we first introduce a new course. That's usually what we do, a new game. So if you want to learn more about banking, you can go to that there, and that will kind of give you a full deep dive into that game. And then lastly, included in this course, we have some new articles that are all really exciting. These all came straight from Jumpstart Standards, once again, so we're really looking to fulfill those directly. So we've got Become a Young Entrepreneur, which is just kind of practically talking about what it looks like if you wanted to open a business as a middle schooler or high schooler or whatever. The pros and cons of owning a small business, the 6 parts of a business plan and what it takes to make a business plan, and then reasons why new businesses fail so that you can learn about those potential pitfalls and hopefully avoid them. And then finally, we added some really exciting new worksheets. 2 of them have to do with research. So we've got our qualitative research worksheets and our quantitative research worksheets. And both of those have to do with taking an idea that the student has and going out and seeing if it actually will make sense, will be profitable, if people want it. So one of them is mostly about surveying students around them, adults around them, and saying, all right, this is my idea for a business. Would you want it? Would you pay for it? And then the other one is about market research and looking around at other businesses who are doing similar things to the business that you have, the idea that you have, and seeing what they're charging, what the product is, if it is being successful or not, things like that. And then the final one is a twist on our Interview an Adult worksheet, which is Interview a Business Owner. And so it encourages students to find someone in their community that is running a business that they think is cool. So that could be a restaurant, that could be a small business, it could be another student who has a lawn mowing business, it could be anything, but to talk about that, get some of their advice, learn about what it required of them to become an entrepreneur. So those are our 3 new worksheets. More worksheets and more content will be coming, but that's kind of the introduction to our entrepreneurship content and this new really exciting collaboration with Intuit for Education. Yeah, any questions? I'm going to open up the chat real quick and just make sure there hasn't been any while we've been chatting.
I didn't see any, Mallory, just me kind of chiming in a little bit.
Awesome. No, that's great. Okay, well, if nobody has any questions, we're going to move on to a few other kind of wrapping up stuff. This we kind of always include at the end of our webinars. It's just some more links to helpful things if you want to walk through for using Banzai. We did a session about Banzai basics and kind of everything that you need to know, so that's available on the left. It's also in the library, which again is at banzai.org/teacher-professional-development, or you can just scan that. On the other side, you can sign up for a demo with our teacher support team. They'll give you an in-depth walkthrough. They'll answer any questions that you have. Yeah, it's really nice. They're great. Also, you have earned free professional development credit for being here and listening to us, and we thank you so much for attending. So if you're watching this live, you will receive an email in about 24 hours that will have a survey that you need to fill out, put all your information in, and then you will automatically receive your certificate. If you're watching this on the VOD, you'll be able to still fill out that survey. There will just be a button. I believe it's above us here, maybe below us, but it'll just have a button where you can click to get your survey. And if you're having any issues with that, email us at support@banzai.org and we will make sure that you get your certificate. And then finally, if you do come up with any questions after you're watching this, or if you're watching the video or anything, we'd love to chat with you. We'd love to connect with you. My name's Mallory. Like I said before, feel free to add me on LinkedIn or just email me directly. It's just mallory@banzai.org. Mallory spelled really weird because I'm from Utah, so it's Malori. And yeah, if you have any ideas or any content that you're like, hey, it would be so helpful if you guys had a worksheet on this for me teaching entrepreneurship. I would love to hear those ideas. We love to connect with teachers and everything like that. And Jared, the same. Jared's email is, I have the video in the way, Jared _, is it Davidove?
Yeah, well done.
Perfect, at intuit.com. And you can connect with him with on LinkedIn as well. Yeah, we love hearing from teachers. We love connecting with you guys. Our goal, like Jared said, is to make content that is helpful for you guys. So we love to hear from teachers. And then finally, we'd love for you to add us on social media. I added all of our things across all of the different social media platforms. Intuit is posting a lot about their Our Finance Challenge and things like that. We do a lot of giveaways, especially around like Teacher Appreciation Month and the upcoming new school year that we post about, especially on Instagram. So I really encourage you to follow us on that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. Jared, any last thoughts before we sign off?
I don't, but other than just to thank you again. I know it's a Friday for all of us and maybe late for some of you. So thanks for spending the last 35 minutes with us.
All right. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Thanks all.